Choosing a weapon in Siege can be a daunting task. Every gun has their own recoil patterns, attachments, and damage outputs that can be overwhelming for new players to understand. So in today's video, I shot every shotgun in the shooting range, and I'll be using the data I collected to rank all of them from worst to best. Where will your favorite shotgun show up? Well, make sure you watch the video all the way through because some of the placements will surprise you. Before I can go into the placements, I must first explain my testing methodology. When shooting the guns in the shooting range, I will strictly be using the vertical grip if the gun has it, and a laser sight to make the gun's pellet spread tighter. Outside of that, testing will mainly come down to the 5 most important stats of a shotgun, like damage per shot, pellet spread, pump speed, capacity, and then finally its destructive capability. With this shotgun episode specifically, the stats are going to matter a lot more than normal due to most shotgun recoil not really mattering much at the end of the day. Anyways, I think that's enough rambling. Let's go ahead and get into the video. Are you looking for a fun new mobile game to help you pass the time? Well, you've come to the right place because this video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. Now, what is Raid? Well, Raid is a free-to-play turn-based MMORPG. Part of the beauty of Raid is that it has a very low skill gap, meaning that it won't require a huge amount of knowledge to get into. Within a couple of hours, you can learn the basic mechanics and you'll be straight into the action. Additionally, you can play Raid anywhere on the go. Me personally, I like to play Raid in the car when I'm out and about, and I'll play it on my phone. But part of the beauty of Raid is that you can play it wherever you want on any mobile device. If you're interested in Raid now, wait until you hear about the recently added Hydra Clash boss fight, a new clan-based competition where you and 4 other clans see who can smack the Hydra boss the hardest. Each head of the Hydra has its own unique design and abilities that make the boss fight interesting and action-packed throughout. For example, one of the heads, the Head of Suffering, is all about inflicting pain and suffering onto its victims. That has a new effect called the Pain Link, which lets the head share some of the damage it takes with you and your team. So you can't just spam the head with damage because it can very easily be the end of your team. Another cool head of the Hydra is the Head of Torment, which looks and sounds like a death metal album. This head uses its special ability, True Fear, to make your team skip your turn and lose access to all your skills. To counter it, you'll need to hide using champions with the Veil or Perfect Veil skills. If this fight sounds interesting to you and you want to support me, use my link in the description to download Raid and join the millions of players around the globe playing. And you'll get a free starter pack with some cool in-game loot just for using my link. Once again, thank you Raid for sponsoring this video, and let's go ahead and get back into the video. Starting out the video, we have the Bailiff as the worst shotgun in Siege, and that's for a few different reasons. The first is its terrible destructive capability. Since this is a secondary shotgun, you are mainly relying on it as a tool to set up the bomb site, not to take gunfights, and it really isn't great for that. The holes it produces are inconsistent at best, and it can sometimes require an entire cylinder just to make it rotate. It's decent for making head holes, and that's about it. Additionally, if you find yourself needing to fall back on this gun, you will be disappointed because its damage is horrible. You may be able to quickly fire it, and it has a decent spread, but that doesn't make up for its other awful aspects. Now, in the 17th spot, we have the ITA-12L. This gun is only really ran on Solace due to her SMG-11, and I'll tell you right now, it is not worth running. On paper, it may sound good with a damage of 50 and a capacity of 8, but its damage is extremely inconsistent. There will be a lot of times in a gunfight where you'll die just because the shotgun's terrible spread. I will say this shotgun does have the benefit of good destructive capability, but due to how infuriating it is to use and how inconsistent it is, I can't put it much higher. Next up in the 16th spot, we have the 612. This is the first semi-auto shotgun of the video, and it just so happens to be pretty awful. This thing has a lot of the same problems the Bailiff has. Its destruction isn't the best, its damage is mid, and its spread is decent, but due to the average damage output, the spread doesn't matter. For a semi-auto shotgun, this is definitely pretty terrible compared to the other options in the Siege roster. Moving on to the 15th spot, we have the 612 SD. Basically, this is just the 612 with the suppressor. So because of the added suppressor, I put it one position higher, but there really isn't anything else to talk about. It's literally just a suppressor on the 612. Now in the 14th spot, we have the ACS-12, which is a really hard shotgun to rank because on one hand, it is a slug shotgun with amazing range, amazing destructive capability, and a 1.5 available. However, its fire rate is slow as hell, making it hard for you to hit your shots, and its DPS is just average compared to other primary weapons when you take into account that bad fire rate. So realistically, after some thought, I decided to throw it right here in the 14th spot. Moving past the ACS-12, we have the FO-12 semi-auto shotgun in the 13th spot. This shotgun would be absolutely overpowered if its damage was just slightly higher, because its fire rate is absolutely ridiculous. It's by far the fastest out of any gun in this video. However, its low damage and high recoil makes it hard to justify picking over other shotguns on this list. And if its destructive capability was decent, it might have made it higher, but due to the tight spread on this thing, its destructive capability is also not great. So the only thing it's good at is fire rate realistically, and I just can't put it any higher just off that statistic. Moving on to the number 12 spot, we have the semi-auto shotgun, the M1014. This is the definition of an average semi-auto shotgun. It has decent damage, a pretty average spread, a good fire rate, an average capacity of 8, and it has low recoil. In addition to its overall average stats, it also just has some pretty average destructive capability as well. Realistically, there isn't much to talk about here. It's just a typical semi-auto shotgun. It'll get the job done when you need it, but trying to use it at range or anything crazy like that is not going to end up going well for you. Moving past the M1014, we have the Y8S2 in the 11th spot. This secondary shotgun has great destructive capability, but as a shotgun, it's just kind of all right. It deals really good damage up close, but the second you find yourself in a gunfight at any sort of range, you will quickly realize why this gun isn't great. Its spread is pretty bad, which makes it hit like a pea shooter at range. Also, its pump and reload speed can be very slow. So it's only really good as a last resort if you're going to use it as a weapon and not just for setting up the bomb site. Now in the number 10 spot, we have the Sausage, which is way more impressive than the M1014. It has a crazy DPS output with high damage, a fast fire rate, a capacity of 10, and it actually has solid destructive capability as well. Now you may be wondering, if everything's so perfect, then why is the Sausage so low on this list? Well, that's because its range isn't great, and even if you could take a gunfight at range, the high recoil on this thing can get you killed. So there are definitely some trade-offs to consider before running this firearm. A lot of times you'll die to either the recoil or the spread not being great enough to take a gunfight past maybe 5 meters. So because of those downsides, I didn't put it higher than the 10th spot. Next up in the 9th spot, we have the Super 90. This is just another kind of average semi-auto shotgun. It has solid destructive capability, which allows it to be useful for setting up the bomb site easily. Additionally, this thing has decent all-around stats. It has a solid damage, average fire rate for a semi-auto shotgun, a decent spread, and a capacity of 8. Now, just like the previous shotgun, the Super 90's strength begins to fade as soon as you start to take gunfights at range. This is mainly due to its spread being relatively aggressive. So as soon as you try to take a gunfight past maybe 8 meters, you're going to be very disappointed. But due to the Super 90's easier recoil, I felt it deserved to be higher than the Sausage. Moving to the 8th spot, we have the Spaz 12. The Spaz 12 is an excellent shotgun in all regards. It has a solid fire rate, good damage, a tight spread, and a capacity of 7. The Spaz 12 has the benefit of being one of the few semi-auto shotguns that can actually take gunfights at range. This is due to its solid damage and spread, allowing for most pellets to hit, and when they do, they'll be dealing good damage. Also, its recoil isn't terrible either. So realistically, this shotgun doesn't have any terrible drawbacks at all, which is what allows the gun to be placed right here in the 8th spot. It could have been higher if its damage was just slightly better, but the other shotguns are just outclassing it in that regard. After the Spaz 12, we have the best secondary shotgun in the game, the Super Shorty, at the 7th spot. The main reason this is so high is for its destructive capability. It is an extremely useful weapon for setting up the bomb site due to its bag size of 5 and its overall solid spread. But what's amazing about the Super Shorty is that it actually is pretty decent for taking gunfights in a pinch. Close range, it can easily one-shot, and at distance, it will consistently two-shot most enemies, which for a secondary shotgun is pretty strong. And this, combined with the destruction aspect I just mentioned, it allows the Super Shorty to be the 7th best shotgun in the game. Moving past the Super Shorty, we have the M590 in the 6th spot. This is a shotgun a lot of you likely think of when you think of a shotgun in Siege, and that is due to the gun's sheer versatility. It has amazing destructive capability, as Smoke and Mute have proved previously, and its stats are nothing to sleep on either. It can easily shred any attacker at close range, but the one downside to this thing is that when you get to taking engagements at range, its damage drop-off can be pretty horrible. In reality, there isn't really much else to talk about here. You guys know why this shotgun belongs here. It's easily one of the most used shotguns in the game, and it's by far one of the most viable as well. If it just had a slightly better spread at range, it would likely be the best shotgun in the game. Now in the number 5 spot, we have the Spaz 15, and this thing definitely deserves to be in the top 5. It has an insane damage output along with a fast fire rate, and its tight spread makes it shred at range compared to other semi-auto shotguns on this list. Now, its destructive capabilities may not be great, and that's why I didn't put it higher, but as a shotgun strictly for taking gunfights, this thing is up there as one of the best in the game. I would wholeheartedly put it at number 1 if it actually had good destructive capability. Next up in the 4th spot, we have the French shotgun. If you have watched some of my videos before, you'll likely know how much I love this thing. The main reason for that is its stupid range. Its base damage is already good enough, but it's able to one-shot at distance as well. Additionally, the French shotgun also has some amazing destructive capability, which is why me and my 5-stack use this shotgun all the time on dock in our setups. I genuinely think this shotgun deserves more love from the community, considering how many bases it is able to cover. Next up in the third place position, we have a shotgun a lot of you were not expecting to make it this far, and that is the Supernova. This shotgun is one of the most slept on weapons in the game, in my opinion. After the recent buffs to its damage, the Supernova is by far the best shotgun in the game at range. This is due to its high damage output and tight pellet spread, allowing it to one-shot at distances other shotguns couldn't dream of. Additionally, it also has decent destructive capability as well, but that isn't its strong aspect at all, and because it doesn't have amazing destructive capability, I didn't want to put it ahead of the next two shotguns. Now moving on to the second place spot, we have the gun a lot of you are likely expecting to be up here, and that is the M870. The main reason this shotgun belongs this high is due to two main aspects. The first is the gun's insane pump speed. As you can see, you can easily shred anyone you come in contact with due to its insane fire rate. But the other reason for this being so high is the gun's insane ability to take gunfights in range. Just like the Supernova, the M870 can not only one-shot at close range, but it also one-shots easily at distance. But the gun's ability to one-shot combined with its insane fire rate makes it an absolute menace for taking gunfights. And it's not like the M870 is bad at setting up the sight either. It's actually really good at blowing holes in soft surfaces. So, considering it's able to excel in all aspects, it definitely belongs in the top 3 ahead of the Supernova. Now finally, for the best shotgun in Siege, we have Buck's Underbarrel. This is a shotgun designed to be used for making holes in soft surfaces, but it is amazing for taking gunfights as well. Just look at this damage. But along with it being able to shred, it has a fast fire rate since it's a semi-auto, so you can easily take a gunfight on multiple people with this thing if you need to. Also, this is one of the few shotguns in the game that actually has access to a 1.5, which is a nice plus. Overall, with the low recoil, high destructive capability, high damage, tight spread, and good range, I think it's easy to see why I put Buck's Underbarrel as the best shotgun in Rainbow Six Siege. Anyways, that wraps up today's video. As always, these videos are strictly my opinion, and if you disagree, feel free to leave your takes in the comments down below. If you enjoyed today's video, I make Siege content just like this twice a week, so go subscribe to the channel and follow me on Twitter if you don't want to miss the next upload. Also, if you want to see more of me, go over to my Twitch and drop me a follow. I'll be streaming 2 hours after this video goes up, and I'm sure you won't want to miss it. Now, if you want to watch another video just like this one, I'll be popping up on your screen right now where I rank every DMR in Rainbow Six Siege. I'll see you next time, friends, and peace.